Parents, if they are, double family, double working parents, the kids has a lot of time to themselves, and they're really good. As Tommy said, I'm not stealing anything with Tommy's presentation, but the drug doesn't discriminate, and you never know. These kids are very manipulative, and even when you are suspicious, they turn your mind upside down, inside out, and you don't know what to do. And they get you thinking, how can you accuse me of doing this? I'm your son. I would never do that. We've seen it top to bottom. We have some great services in place at the court. I'm going to let Mike talk a little bit about the progression of the addiction. Once again, you're probably going to hear some of the messages kind of intertwined tonight, but that's going to be normal with all the great speakers we have up here, because it is all one joint effort. At the end of the night, hopefully you get something. We'll have some referrals, some resources in place that you can contact us at any time. So I'm going to hand it over to Mike Higgins, who was one of the people that came to me. At the time, I was the assistant chief at the courthouse, and Mike came to me and he said, listen, Mike had a couple people on his caseload that were dealing with some issues. And there's nothing more frustrating as a professional probation officer working in a courthouse when you finally had a kid that came asking for help, and we didn't have the resources of the facilities to service them. And we would be on the phone for hours at a time trying to get the kid a bed. And one of the old cliches is you need to strike while the iron's hot. Well, it's really sad when a probation officer has a kid in their office saying, I need help, I'm sick, I'm tired of doing drugs, I want help. And due to insurance, due to lack of funding, due to lack of money, they won't afford the beds. And sometimes we have to send kids home. And unfortunately, sometimes the kids never made it back the next day. There's only so much you can do sometimes. There's hospitals now, it's really come twofold with a lot of the communities coming together and saying we've had enough. Because until every community does that, we're going to see these young kids dying. So on that note, I'm going to get back up and talk about some treatment options that we have through our program, but I'd like to turn it over to Mike Higgins.
I don't know if I need the mic, but thank you everybody, and it's a privilege for us to come here. I want to thank you as parents and children to be here, because we've spoke at many of these in many high schools in this whole area to see 6, 7 people in this crowd. So I think this is a great effort for these people from North Reading to put it on. Please give them a hand for this. First of all, the drug is here. It's out there, be it pot, be it the perk 30s or be it heroin. We'll get into that a little bit. But I want to say, as a probation officer, I've been here for 31 years. Chief Burridge was the chief when I first started working here, and that's going back. Now, you have a police department that in my mind is second to none when it comes to cooperation with dealing with these issues. Chief Murphy, we call him Mike Murph, I have to call him Chief now. Chief Murphy is very aggressive in his actions towards us and always has been. Tommy Incanasio and Tommy Hatch are two outstanding detectives that we personally worked cases together and raided houses and found what we were looking for. Tommy Romeo started this a long time ago when he was a detective. So you're lucky to have these type of people in your department, because in a lot of situations, most departments don't want to take the next step. These people already have, and please give them a hand. Back in 2005, we're sitting in the courthouse and we saw an influence of younger girls, ages 17 to 20, coming into the courthouse for drug-related offenses. And we're wondering, what is going on out there? Where's the problem? This doesn't make sense. So we started asking the kids, the females, their issues. They started giving more information. It turns out in 2005, there was only 6 beds in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that you could send someone to for a non-voluntary, it's called a Section 35 for a non-voluntary commitment. Tommy Incanasio brought that up when he talked about bringing someone over the court a little bit. 6 beds for women, there were 300 for men. So when we got these girls before us, okay, they started admitting they're using opiates and heroin. Us as parents, I'm a parent, I have 3 daughters, what's going on here? Well, we found out that most of these kids had older boyfriends. The older boyfriends first started doing the perks, the 512s everybody has in their medicine box, everybody has at their mother's house. in that statement, get rid of them. They had the prescription take-back day last week, the national. But, you know, when you leave to go out, rest assured your friends' kids are raiding your medicine cabinet. Your house is for sale. Rest assured people are going through there in open houses and checking that out. So don't leave it around first and foremost. Now, these kids start using the 512s, the 5 milligram perks. Then they like it, they like the high, then they get in doing a few more, and then the oxy craze hit. We know all about that. The 80 milligram oxys, it brought the whole country down. Robberies, B&Es, everything goes on. And then society, along with police departments and the DEA's office, got together with the Walgreens and the CVS's of the world and started to figure out that they'll limit the amount they serve to put in the pharmaceutical places. They won't produce as much. Your doctor's prescriptions now went to a PDF, no more forms because they were stealing those. So they took good action to nip it in the bud, so to speak. Well, that was fine and dandy, but that caused the next problem. After a while, we consider Woburn, because Woburn District Court, we're 20 minutes from Lawrence, 20 minutes from Lowell, 20 minutes from Lynn, 20 minutes from Boston. There are options to buy things. North Reading's not too far. In stealing a statement from the DEA, back in 2007, we went to a thing at Wilmington High School, and someone spoke at it, and the DEA considered the Merrimack Valley the third highest use of opiates and heroin in sales in the whole country. This is the Merrimack Valley. This is part of it, believe it or not. So it's here. So when society got to do all that and crack down on it, these guys started figuring out they can drive to one of those 4 places, buy a bag of heroin for 20 bucks, actually 10 bucks, start snorting and get the same high. And this is what they were doing after a while, after about 30, 35 days. You don't get high in that anymore. So you start booting it or smoking the heroin. Next thing you know, you're an IV user. You're full blown. And that's what was happening to these younger girls. Their boyfriends were introducing it. And once you get involved in that high, it's over. I can guarantee you that everybody in this room has a niece, a nephew, a friend, a brother, a sister, a cousin that's used and been through this effort. That's why you're here. So when this started happening, we didn't know what to do. So as it turns out, we brought, is Brad Jones still there? We didn't know what to do in the situation. So we brought the legislators in to try to help out. Because, you know, we had no treatment. There was 6 beds. And at that time there were 6 beds, there were 100 people sitting, 100 females sitting in Framingham Prison waiting for those 6 beds. Because in a Section 35, you gotta go. There's no ifs, buts, and whens. So if they issue it, you're stuck there. Today, there are 96 girls sitting in Framingham State Prison. There are now 100 beds due to the effort. But there's still I think it's 95 or 96 people waiting for those 100 beds. So the epidemic is still here. It hasn't changed a bit. 6 years of fighting this tooth and nail, we're back to square one with the perk 30s. So in saying that, we fought ourselves to find out what we could do about this addiction. We got knowledgeable on it. We figured out the fact that first thing you've got to do is you've got to get education. No matter what you do, we have to educate. So in this pamphlet, I'm sorry, I got a little close there. In this pamphlet, you'll look through it. It's in your book. There are signs of usage and stuff that Tommy Ignacio went over. There's 2 other things in it that he missed that we feel that might be important. Is cotton balls and spoons. They'll use the spoons to cook it. They'll use the cotton balls to store it and retract it later to use it. So those are 2 other symptoms that we found that were far more prevalent in their parents noticing that they were using. So we're going through all of that. We had the legislators come into our court. We put on a presentation to them. We had tried to get Danny Perrinick, the sergeant from the Winchester Police, is here today, and he's one of the founders with me when we tried to get the funding to go through all this. We couldn't get anywhere. It's out there. Just summon police house and help us. So we finally got the legislators to come in. All our reps and senators, they came into the courthouse one day. Trick is to feed them, I think. So we fed them donuts, bagels, orange juice, and we spoke. We gave this speech to them. Before we were through the speech, they stood up, Bobby Haven, who's since retired, stood up and said, how much money you need? We said, hey, how about $500,000? Good, you'll get it. As it turns out, everybody on that was there that day had the same problem, and they were looking to do it. So we felt that education was the first and foremost component, and we didn't jump on the bandwagon to do this because you talk about the word intervention. Intervention means squat, unless you're ready to act when the person wants to go. If you don't have an exit plan in your intervention, you're not going to get it. It's not going to work. So any of you are thinking along the lines of intervention, when they're ready to go, you better have a plan in place for what's going to happen when they say yes, or you're wasting your time. So that's what we did. Vinny's going to talk a little more about the treatment, but I just want to stress the reality of it. Every single day, we're probation officers. We don't get paid for this heat end of the deal. We like to say that we're the only program in the state, the only court in the state that has this. But we don't get an extra dollar or any comp time for coming to these things. It's our passion towards this. But I can rest assured that North Reading has issues with this. We're not here for lip service whatsoever. I wouldn't show up if that was the case. I just want to give you a few statistics, because how many are contractors or builders or anything like that out there? Anybody in that business? How many read the paper? Does it come out daily in North Reading? Okay. You see the crimes don't, it's all related, because you see a new house being built, next thing you read in the paper, no more copper got stolen, this got stolen, that got stolen, anything they can, the wiring got stolen. They'll rip you off and go down to the different places and sell it all by their dough. Well, Woburn District Court is a suburban court. Some call us a hit court, the town, the big courts do. But we got issues. If we got issues, and we got some rich towns. North Reading's getting up there, though. They're doing quite well, but we have Winchester and Reading, and it's the same issues there, too. Every town we handle has these same issues. Just a couple stats on this. Drug cases last year, 2011, there were 399 drug cases come through the Woburn District Court. Probably most of them from Woburn, but no. 399 cases of that. This year to date, as of today's date, there are 162 cases, drug-related cases. Now that's just not the only cases that happen like that, because the larcenies, the frauds, the shopliftings, they all happen. Do yourself a favor, read the police blog, how many times that someone's shoplifting or something's missing. You'll understand it. Last year, there were 676 larceny and fraud cases that came through the Woburn District Court. This year alone, there are 333 that already come through. B&Es, that's the word no one wants to hear. These guys, this police department, you're right by the highway, you don't know how often they're trying to solve B&Es, and all the departments get together to try to do that. It's a problem, because no one likes anybody breaking into anybody's house, and you don't want your house broken into. Most of the time, these are drug addicts doing this deed. There were 125 B&Es in 2011. There are 39 to date. Our probation cases, we handle 1,022 cases. 226 of these people got to report to us every 2 weeks. I can tell you, going over my own caseload today, that 80% of my cases are drug-related and opiate-related. So it's reality. Our job is to try to enforce what these guys do. It's difficult. So in saying all that, I just want to thank you, and good luck.
I told you Mike was unique. I get to work with him every day, which is, it's actually a pleasure to watch him work, because he's passionate about what he does. He's not the most organized individual in paperwork, but otherwise he's just, he's a stalwart of the court. I know I'm pressed for time, Chief, stop pulling my pant leg. About 5 minutes. Like I said, we can go on and on. Everything's gonna kind of fall together. Like Mike said, intervention doesn't mean anything if you don't have an exit plan. So what we did as part of an education message, the second part of our mission statement, is to treat. So we have, out of the $500,000 that we got, which we hope we get again, it's our 7th year running, 95% of that money goes into treatment beds. And it all gets used up every year. We've serviced over 1,400 individuals. And basically, how that started was, and you need to know as parents, as families, as a community, detox is only the first step. It's a long, long process. And what we saw was